Tonight on CFTK-TV News, Terrace's new hospital has seen its first ever birth occur. Many reactions to Donald Trump's tariff-based threats are taking place. And we have a report on CFTK's yearly holiday donation event and how it'll look this year.
Northwest BC's only television news team. We are CFTK-TV News.
Good evening, I'm Cale Maslin, and here's what's making news in the Northwest and beyond today. Henny's Sharing Tree has returned to the CFTK-TV office for the holiday season in collaboration with the Salvation Army. CFTK's Damian Smith has more.
With Christmas less than 4 weeks away becomes the spirit of giving to those who have had a tough break in life in the Northwest, and CFTK-TV, alongside Bounce Radio and Pure Country, are working with the local Salvation Army on the annual Henny's Sharing Tree donation event. And Henny Ebling was once an employee for Pure Country and Bounce Radio and was the mastermind in starting up this initiative.
Almost 50 years ago, she started the Sharing Tree campaign back then to help the less fortunate in our community because there was a need. And after she passed away, we rebranded the Sharing Tree to name it after her and her legacy.
The Terrace Salvation's Army Corps officer pastor stopped by to explain how you can help.
This year, we are having set locations around Terrace where community members can drop off brand new toys unwrapped to help the Salvation Army with their Christmas hamper campaign.
Sabrina Sylvie also elaborated that all the donations will go to the less fortunate, while also listing some donation ideas for anyone that was in need of suggestions.
We are trying to hand out toys from ages 0 to 10, and then 11 to 17-year-olds, we hand out gift cards.
It comes at a time where Sylvie has seen an increase in need in the last 5 years, and according to Statistics Canada, 1 in 10 Canadians live below the poverty line, with that number expected to increase into 2025.
We are seeing a greater need this year. People are just having a really hard time with their basic needs. They're having trouble paying rent, mortgage, gas, hydro, and then to have to buy groceries on top of all of that, it's a challenge this year.
The need is great, and especially with winter and the cold months, the food shelters. It seems that this is just an ongoing issue. It's there's people that are in need, and it's our station can play a small role in supporting and helping them.
And those who wish to donate can drop their items off at our CFTK-TV office, Western Financial Group, as well as Straight Line, GM, RV, and Honda in Terrace, while locations in other communities like Smithers, Kitimat, Houston, and Prince Rupert can be found on our website. Donations will be accepted up until December 15th, after which the Salvation Army will gather up everything and then hand it all out as a part of their own annual Christmas hamper drive. From CFTK-TV in Terrace, I'm Damian Smith.
The recently opened Kasiena Regional Hospital has officially welcomed its first baby into the world. Here's CFTK's Jaylene Matthews with more information.
The first day the Kasiena Regional Hospital was open, a sweet new life began his first day as well. Shinto Shaji and his wife Maria Matthew welcomed a healthy and beautiful baby boy into the world at 11:40 p.m. on November 24th. They named him Abrar, which means righteous person, and he weighed in at 9 pounds. The R.E.M. Lee Foundation and the hospital auxiliary put together a gift basket for Abrar and his parents to celebrate the birth. The new hospital comes well equipped to receive the babies of the region with a Tier 3 neonatal intensive care unit and a special care nursery. There they will provide community-based pre- and postnatal services, including education, parenting support, and care for high-risk pregnancies. For CFTK-TV News, I'm Jaylene Matthews.
For those seeking a family-friendly way to kick off the holiday season this weekend, the Dr. R.E.M. Lee Hospital Foundation is hosting their 6th annual Festival of Trees on both Friday and Saturday. Jaylene Matthews once again has the details.
There's nothing like the magic of Christmas lights glistening in the snow. And this weekend, you'll get the perfect opportunity to see just that. The R.E.M. Lee Hospital Foundation is hosting a Festival of Trees fundraiser at the Heritage Park Museum.
We have invited our local businesses to decorate mini trees and wreaths donated by Canadian Tire, and they return them to us upvalued, some of them $100, $200, $300 worth of value on the tree. and the wreath. And you're welcome to come in, take a look around, go through the cabins, and then you end up at the hotel in the museum, and that's where we're selling raffle tickets where you can win one of these beautiful trees or wreaths and bring it home.
Admission is just $2, and the funds raised are going to a very special cause.
Our fundraiser now is for a $70,000 omni-bed care station, and it's basically an incubator for the new neonatal ICU. And that's a cool thing. That came through our foundation when we had Northern Health come to a meeting and say that we know we need it in the area, but we can't afford it. Can you help us out? So we did. $14 million project that the hospital foundation started, and we're finishing. It's now ready almost to open up. So this care station, the Omnibed, will be part of the equipment used in that neonatal ICU. So come and join us. Lots of fun. Christmas spirit is here. Bring your family and join us and help us to assist the new hospital in the neonatal ICU and fundraising for that Omnibed.
The festival runs this Friday, November 29th from 4 to 8 p.m. and Saturday, November 30th from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. For CFTK-TV News, I'm Jaylene Matthews.
After the Houston District Chamber of Commerce publicized that a sporting store grand reopening would happen this Friday, they've now revealed that another reopening will be happening the same day. This time, the store that's reopening is called the Vault Thrift Store, located at 3232 Highway 16 in Houston. And while the ribbon-cutting ceremony for Dealman Sporting Goods will begin at 10 a.m., the Vault ceremony is set to start at 11 in the morning. Coming up next, we look at the results of an investigation looking at how a BC teen caught avian flu. Welcome back. There's plenty of reaction to U.S. President-elect Donald Trump's threatening to impose a heavy tariff on all products entering the U.S. from Canada and Mexico. The threats kicked off a political firestorm in Canada, and the Prime Minister is holding an emergency meeting with premiers as they brace for potential impact. CTV's Rob Buffum with the fallout.
Donald Trump's threat to slap 25% tariffs on all Canadian goods imported into the States has created major waves. Premier David Eby says BC has to negotiate hard.
We buy more American stuff than France and China and Japan and the United Kingdom combined. So we are negotiating, I believe, from a position of strength.
Eby responding to Trump's social media threats Monday to impose the massive tariffs on both Canada and Mexico unless they make significant inroads at their borders to curb illegal immigrants and drugs, notably fentanyl, from entering the U.S.
There are improvements we can make on our border. We've called repeatedly for example, port police to ensure what comes into British Columbia is not contraband, is not illicit drugs or precursor chemicals.
More than half of BC's exports, significantly from our natural resources sector of oil and gas, agriculture, electricity, and lumber, go to our neighbors to the south.
We export approximately $32 billion worth of product to the US per year, so it would have sweeping impacts across a variety of sectors.
The forestry sector, already reeling from 15% duties scheduled to increase possibly, says the tariffs would decimate the industry and create supply chain issues for others.
What this causes is an increased price of things, and at the same time, it constrains or strangles the amount of wood going across the border or other products going across the border. COVID will be a blip compared to this.
BC Conservative leader John Rustad wants the legislature to be called back on an urgent basis.
Treat this as an emergency. Let's put emergency funding in place. We'll pass that funding so that we can invest in securing our ports, in ending the fentanyl and the migrant problem that we have.
Only a fraction of undocumented immigrants and illegal drugs cross Canada's border to the States compared to Mexico. The Prime Minister spoke with the President-elect on Monday evening about his threats and has scheduled a virtual meeting with all premiers on Wednesday.
The Team Canada approach is what works. That's where, putting aside partisanship, that's where I reached out immediately to Doug Ford to agree with him that we would have a First Ministers meeting this week to talk about the United States.
As businesses and politicians across the country scramble to respond to the fallout of a social media post that might be bluster for trade negotiations, but if acted upon, would hammer the economy.
Donald Trump's threatened Canada and Mexico with the same tariffs, despite their approach to illegal immigration and the fentanyl crisis being very different. CTV's Tyson Fedor explains the situation further.
Hundreds of thousands of people cross the Canada-U.S. border daily, and every year millions of vehicles make the international drive. But that friendly, long-standing movement of people and goods is now under fire.
We are a weak link in the United States border security framework. It's very easy to come to Canada. We have an honor-based immigration system, which is insane.
U.S. Customs and Border Patrol says it's encountered 24,000 illegal migrants trying to enter from Canada, compared to 1.5 million from Mexico. But it's unclear how many in either case actually got into the United States. In the 2024 fiscal year, between October and September, 198,000 people were blocked from going to the U.S. from Canada, and another 2.1 million from Mexico.
We can start doing outbound checks of cargo. We can increase the capacity to patrol our borders by soliciting provincial police services, border police, small town like border town police services.
But the fentanyl crisis is high on Trump's agenda. He wants to stop the flow from Mexico and Canada completely. Statistics show only 20 kilograms of fentanyl was seized last year coming from Canada, compared to more than 9,000 kilos from Mexico.
I don't want to stop drug overdoses to please Donald Trump. I want to stop drug overdoses so that there's not one more mother with her face buried in a pillow sobbing that she just lost her kid.
Ottawa says it will try to tackle Donald Trump's concerns, but officials have not detailed what that might look like.
There's a number of measures that we are considering in any event, regardless of what the incoming administration would have been.
Last fiscal year, U.S. Border Patrol arrested 358 suspects on its terror watch list at the Canadian border. Tyson Fedor, CTV News, Calgary.
A Fraser Valley teen infected with the avian flu remains in critical condition, and despite an investigation, the infection source remains unknown. CTV's Michelle Bernaro has more.
Inside BC Children's Hospital, a teenager is still fighting to overcome the H5N1 virus 3 weeks after testing positive.
The young person is in critical care. They are not breathing on their own.
But the teen, who was healthy before the severe infection, is in stable condition.
And we remain hopeful, as they have made some progress in the last few days.
Testing of dozens of healthcare workers and 16 family and friends who had contact with the teenager have all come back negative for the illness. Dozens of animals, including birds, were also tested with negative results.
There's no evidence of transmission from this young person, and no evidence of any other cases right now in British Columbia.
How the teen became infected remains unknown, but Dr. Henry says testing revealed the strain was linked to infected wild geese and not directly linked to outbreaks at poultry farms. There are currently 54 poultry farms in BC infected with avian flu. The infections have resulted in the culling of more than 1.3 million birds since October.
Currently, we have about 150 to 180 people deployed to respond to high-path avian influenza in BC. This has been our 6th wave of high-path AI in Canada.
It's devastating for a farmer when you get an infection on the farm.
Hall says biosecurity measures are at their highest level on farms.
We're taking robust measures to protect farmers and farm workers, wearing personal protective equipment, masks and gloves, overalls.
But officials say they continue to look for further ways to reduce the risk.
There's such a higher viral load in the wildlife population that it's overwhelming those biosecurity protocols and practices that are in place. And I think we need to have a hard look at those biosecurity and see if there's any way we can beef them up.
Meanwhile, Dr. Henry says unless new information comes forward, the public health investigation into the teen's case is now closed. Michelle Bernaro, CTV News, Vancouver.
Turning to tonight's weather, the North Coast should end up dealing with periods of rain at a low of 5 degrees. The Terrace-Kitimat area will be home to periods of snow at a low of -4 degrees. And the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District is expected to get snow too at a low of -11. On the North Coast, the next week or so will only consist of lots of rain, while the high moves from 4 to 10 degrees. In the Terrace-Kitimat area, the week for them will only really see snow and a high bouncing between -3 and 1 degree. And in the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District, the upcoming week will also essentially get snow and not much else as their own high shifts from -7 to 0 degrees. Checking out the highways now, visit Drive BC for the latest and up-to-date conditions, and as always, drive safe out there. On Highway 16, there is slippery sections, utility work, compact snow, limited visibility, a geotechnical investigation, and the Usk Ferry has been shut down for the season with the cable car now in effect. Highway 35 has some slippery sections, and Highway 118 has some slippery sections too. Highway 37 has roadside brushing, slippery sections, and utility work. Highway 37A also has slippery sections and some bridge maintenance. There's even more slippery sections on the Nishka Highway, and the Telegraph Creek Road has slippery sections as well. And this is what the roads were looking like this afternoon around the region from the view of the province's highway cams. Still to come, a story illustrates another way that the postal strike is affecting people. Welcome back. The ongoing post strike isn't only affecting Christmas gifts and letters. The daughter of a Surrey man whose cremated remains were set to be shipped to her Montreal home is furious with the work stoppage leaving the package in limbo. CTV's Shannon Patterson reports.
Emily Wallstrom was recently able to connect with her dad, Dennis, for the first time.
I'd never spoken to him, never seen a picture. I knew nothing until a couple years ago. I went out to Vancouver and got to meet him.
But she didn't have much time with him. Dennis Wallstrom died suddenly in late October in Surrey at the age of 65.
COPD took him away. Yeah, it's a terrible disease.
Wallstrom had her dad cremated and learned the only way the funeral home could ship his remains to her in Montreal was through Canada Post.
They told me they would be able to ship him out on the 12th and that he would arrive on the 20th of November.
On the 13th, the tracker showed the remains were at a Canada Post sorting facility in Richmond. 2 days later, the union went on strike.
I don't know where in transit his remains stopped once the strike started. I don't know. I don't know anything. I'm just sort of left wondering where he is, when will he arrive, and how can this happen?
Wallstrom is shocked human remains aren't on the Canada Post essential deliveries list during the strike.
You're taking someone's loved one from point A to point B. Now in the middle, you expect to just say, well, we're stopping it here in limbo, in the middle of nowhere.
In a statement, Canada Post said, "This is a difficult situation and we sympathize. But unfortunately, Cup W's decision to launch a national strike means we're not able to process or deliver items. Any mail and parcels in the postal network have been secured and will be delivered in a first-in, first-out basis once operations resume."
I have to trust that that is what's going to happen. But at the same time, I also trusted them to have him here by the 20th.
While Canada Post and its striking workers try to hammer out a deal, Wallstrom has no idea when her dad's remains will arrive and when his family can lay him to rest. Shannon Patterson, CTV News.
Things got tense at a Vancouver school board meeting as two trustees claimed that there's a culture of secrecy. CTV's Mark McMahon has more.
In approving this motion, we would have been circumventing the framework that have been built to ensure...
Point of order. A point of order.
Thank you. If you could please let me finish.
Testy moments at Monday night's Vancouver School Board meeting.
I understand, but I'm chairing the meeting right now.
At issue claims that the school board has a culture of secrecy. Two trustees are putting forward a motion they say is about improving transparency. Among the concerns, the amount of behind closed-door meetings.
So this motion is really about opening up the space, inviting people into the school board to hear what their concerns are, but also to respond to their needs, concerns, and issues.
So what we really need is we need to bring back people into our meetings so we can hear their voices.
But the board chair insists not every topic can or should be discussed publicly.
We, as a board, sit through and participate in teacher appeals. That is private information that we do not share. We also do negotiations, and it's important that we protect the interests of both the organization and other parties that are involved in that negotiation.
And she refutes the suggestion there aren't ways for the public to have their say.
We do have policies so that we are transparent and open, and it's really important that people understand that, so that they don't feel like that we aren't. I'm always happy to answer emails or to forward people in the right direction.
The debate will continue in January when the board will hear from the public. Martin McMahon, CTV News, Vancouver.
And now we turn our attention to how the stock markets look today. The Canadian dollar is up 24/10 of a cent, the price of gold is up $18.50, oil is down 5 cents, natural gas is down 27 cents, aluminum is down $25.50. In Toronto, the TSX is up 83.16 points, the Venture Index is up 8.13, in New York, the Dow Jones is down 138.25, and NASDAQ is down 115.10. Still ahead, an arrest took place over a Taylor Swift-based scam. Welcome back. Her tour wrapped up in Toronto, and there's bad blood between Taylor Swift fans and a woman accused of selling fake tickets to the Era Tours in Toronto. She was arrested after allegedly scamming Swifties out of nearly $70,000. CTV's Sean Leothong spoke with some victims.
Denise Teasor of Burlington was arrested by Toronto police yesterday and charged in relation to an alleged ticket fraud scam worth as much as $300,000. These images appeared in the story we first brought you last week. Young girls surprised with the news that they would be going to one of Taylor Swift's 6 sold-out Toronto concerts, but it wasn't real.
You stole what I was looking forward to as a core memory.
Tammy Allen is a teacher in Burlington and has known Teasor for 10 years. She bought tickets for her daughter last year. She'd heard that Teasor had come through for other concerts and felt secure in the fact that they knew each other. Allen learned days before the concert that the tickets may not be real and called Teasor on the phone.
Am I breaking my daughter's heart tonight? Like, do I not have tickets? Do we not have our money? And she's like, we don't have your tickets, you don't have your money.
We tracked down Denise Teasor and went to her home last week to see if she wanted to tell her side of the story.
Hi, Denise.
As hard as it was telling her daughter, today Allen says there is some good coming from this.
But it was never about the money. It was just about being able to say to our kids that, like, you can fight back for things and things will get done. And now I feel like it really is happening.
It's a horrible thing to do.
According to Toronto police, the alleged scam involved more than 24 victims worth more than $70,000, but they say there are likely more victims.
It's alleged that she was on social media platforms such as Facebook Marketplace, using an alias, Denise Blackhawk, and offering tickets for the Taylor Swift concert in Toronto.
When we first brought you the story, one alleged victim had created a Google document where anyone who had given money to Teasor could upload their information. According to her, the count was over 100 alleged victims in multiple jurisdictions, totaling $295,000.
To actually see it now and hoping that this is the start of something big, it just feels really good. Feels really good.
Denise Teasor is charged with fraud over $5,000, possession of property obtained by crime over $5,000, 32 counts of fraud under $5,000, and 32 counts of possession of property obtained by crime under $5,000.
Sean Leathong, CTV News, Toronto.
That's all of our news for CFTK-TV. I'm Cal Maslin. Thanks for watching.